What's good, Kenganda? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another interview here on the channel. I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause for being here. And today we got a brother that is currently in South Africa. He's from the States, African American brother, but I'll let him explain to you who he is and what his channel is about.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate the invite. Yeah, so I'm No Excuse Entertainment. Some of you in the travel community may know me already from the various travel groups. Been to various countries, but now I've been specifically focusing on the southern part of Africa. And I've been exploring South Africa. I've been there once in May, and I'm here again. So trying to gather more intel for guys that's curious about South Africa.
All right. Again, give another round of applause for being here. And this is a little bit of a different of an episode here on this channel because typically when you see black men talking about going places on social media in the black sectors, we're talking about the Philippines, we're talking about the DRs, the Colombias, the Brazils. But when I first interviewed you on my other channel, you was on your way to South Africa, and I believe you went to Ethiopia and South Africa. You liked your time in Colombia, but what drew you to wanting to come to the continent instead of going back to Latin America?
A lot of things, man. I feel like for me, that solo travel time is kind of like ticking for me. So it's like, I need to visit South Africa before something happens, this COVID stuff, anything could happen that could prevent you from traveling. So I was like, while I have the opportunity and means to travel, let me do it now. I chose South Africa because any country that I visit countries with a purpose. So any country that I visit is with the intent of possibly living there or starting a business there or buying real estate there. Mm-hmm. And so I thoroughly researched every African country on land ownership, mm-hmm. freehold, what they call when you have complete ownership. Mm-hmm. And the four countries that you could own land as a foreigner outright is South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. Mm-hmm. The other countries you could own land, but it's 99-year leases, or mm-hmm. you could own land if it's farmland, but for residential purposes, mm-hmm. those are the main four countries where you can buy land outright. So I wanted to focus on South Africa first.
Okay. Now you made a video with Black Male Travels that got a lot of brothers kind of hot because you talked about how you enjoyed your time in South Africa better than what you did in Colombia. But let me kind of get into, your first time experiences before we get into that. What were your expectations before you went to South Africa? And then when you got there, what did you realize, and did those expectations, match up?
My first expectation on going there was to feel like this warm welcome, like I was going to go in the airport or people recognize me as American or Black American, and just, I thought I was going to get welcome home or welcome to the motherland. Like I was imagining how people said they were received when I think Ghana did the year of the return. Okay. But that didn't happen.
Right.
So I didn't feel like that warm welcome. And then when I talked to people about it, they just said that, they just don't know too much about what it means to be Black in America, and mm-hmm. that we don't know where we're from. They're oblivious to that. So they just look at me as another African person in South Africa visiting.
Did they ask you if you're from Nigeria or if you're from Ghana, West Africa? Did you ever hear that? Like when there was, people talk to you?
I mean, some thought I was probably from West Africa because I say I live in America, but they're like, okay, but where are you from? Like what tribe are you from?
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, I don't got no tribe. I don't know.
Okay. So how did that make you? How
hear
did
us
that make you
first.
feel? Like when you started to you notice like, oh, okay, it's not like the year of return. It's just they don't really know
Well,
that much about me. How did that make you feel?
it made me feel. It kind of put me in perspective. It kind of like a lot of things checked me because I had to realize they shouldn't care about where I'm from, right? Because growing up in America, I went to school with people from Africa, African countries, from the Caribbean, and typically we don't really care about where they're from. We just think they
Right.
just black. They just
Right.
here,
Right.
you know. And then the people in America, those people in America, they feel like we don't show them love. But that's the kind of same way I felt going to Africa. Like, damn, they ain't really showing me love. But I have to understand that it's just
Right.
because we don't know.
Right. Okay. Now let me kind of dial it back. You went to Ethiopia too, right?
Right.
Okay. What was your experience, out there in Ethiopia?
Ethiopia was a little different, man, because even though it's Africa, they are a little bit more Middle Eastern in their tendencies and the way they view things and people. I mean, they're fearless. That's one of the places where I got pickpocketed, like not pickpocket without me knowing, pickpocket with me knowing I got pickpocketed. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like they have they can be very aggressive. They can be very nice too. But I mean, they definitely have a when I think of like Afghanistan and things like that, I thought about Ethiopia, like they're ready, like anything could pop off at any moment. That's how I felt there.
Right.
And the people there, like they come off like not friendly, but once you start talking to them, like they're very friendly. So
Okay.
they're hard to read though. They're very hard to read.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's definitely true. From what I've, Ethiopia is kind of a closed off. Even in America, they don't kind of really. They there and they kind of to themselves. They're kind of a closed off society.
Right.
But as far as how long was you there for?
I was in Ethiopia for a week.
Okay.
I actually met some Rastafarians because I don't know if you know when Emperor Selassie was in power. They had offered land to like different people from the diaspora, and some Jamaicans took advantage of that at the time, and so they have a Jamaican population in Ethiopia, which I didn't know about until I was there.
Okay. And so now you went to Addis, I believe it was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How was it like, did you go out in the nightlife and stuff like that? Or how did you kind of feel, about just going out and stuff like that?
The nightlife they do have a nightlife. I was kind of surprised to see people enjoying themselves because when you think of Ethiopians from an American perspective, you think of very conservative and low key. But they got some nice spots. Smoking hookah, drinks.
Right.
And women. Women do interact. They're not as conservative as I thought they were.
Okay. So let's go to South Africa. So you get to South Africa. Where you touch down first?
So I touched down first, and the first time I touched down in Cape Town, that was my first stop.
All right.
And then I went to Johannesburg, then Durban.
Okay. So let's talk about Cape Town. Cape Town is like kind of the Beverly Hills. How'd you like? What was your first experience in Cape Town? Like,
so in Cape Town, I mean, when I touched down and got to my spot, I was really impressed because I was like, this is like, I felt like it was clean and the architecture was similar to, remind me of Washington D.C. And I was like, wow. I felt like, and I'm coming from Philadelphia, I'm just like, they're killing a lot of American cities, just this one city.
Right.
I felt poor. You know what I mean? I felt like I was coming from a third world country.
Right.
So yeah, that was my first impression. Like it's nice, you know. They got the ocean there, the pier. But what did kind of realize quick was that it's very white dominated there.
Right.
You know, they have a white mayor, a white governing system, and then you got a lot of black people working for them. You know,
Okay.
so that was kind of, you know, I heard about it, but that was kind of hard to see for the first time, especially my first experience in Africa.
Okay. And then, you know, my favorite city, one of my favorite cities in the world is Johannesburg. Shout out to Joburg in the building. So when you got to Joburg, the city of gold, how'd you feel about Joburg?
To be honest with you, like when I first, I thought it was very rough. You know, when I think I had posted in a group, I said, "Am I in Newark, New Jersey, or Camden?" Because I just seen like just men on the street. You know what I mean, walking, looking strung out. It looked really rough. I was like, wow.
Okay.
You know, and I was trying to see what people like about Johannesburg, but like a lot of it, most of it, it appeared very rough to me. Like I didn't see a lot of new things. Like the hotels are not new. You know, I mean, there's some nice Airbnbs, but even the nicer part, they say Sandton, is not like, it's not new like other cities in like Cape Town or Durban. You know what I mean? So I felt like Johannesburg was kind of dated.
Okay.
In a lot of ways. I think that it's very male dominated. So like going out, for example, and even this current time, like there's the male to female ratio is more males. Usually, cities where it's not as safe for women to go out, like in Chicago, for example, you're always going to have more men out. So that was what I took away. But I will say this, just for the men, I will say the finest woman I've seen came out of Johannesburg.
Oh yeah, they're working with something out there. I ain't gonna lie. So, and that's what we're gonna talk about going to Durban, because a lot of the brothers, you know, this is a channel. I have farming on this channel, and obviously we have, you know, and a lot of the pro blacks, you know, they kind of like to talk about the building into Africa, but we kind of talk about dating. And we're gonna be honest, we are, you know, heterosexual black men. So when we go to places, we want to sometimes date. Now I know that you really like Durban the most out of all of those cities, right? And Durban is, we know it's a part of South Africa, but you don't really get a whole lot of information about Durban. What is it about Durban that you like so much when you was there?
Man, Durban felt like, coming from the airport, like I seen like all this green pasture coming. And it was just like so beautiful. Like anybody that been to Medellin and you coming from the airport, you see the valleys and stuff in Medellin. Like I felt like that in Durban, just coming from the airport. I was just like, wow, this is a beautiful place. And then once I got to my spot, so Durban is on the coast, you know, I went to the beach. The beach looked clean and nice. And then, yeah, it just looked so world class. And then, you know, the people that I met or spoke to beforehand, you know, were very friendly and, you know, looking forward to, you know, meeting me and showing me around. So, yeah, my first impression of Durban, I was just kind of blown off just coming from the airport.
Okay. So now let's talk about it in terms, because a lot of times, you know, people kind of conservative in the Pan-African community, but I want to talk about it in terms of dating, or approaching ladies, because a lot of black men, we will be honest, you know, black men we attracted African American women, so we are attracted to African women. So what's the difference that you see? Let's contrast the two. You know, if you're in Colombia, you know, trying to talk to a Colombian lady, or if you want to try to date a woman in South Africa, be it in any of the cities that you were in, what's the difference like, in what's the complexity in all of that?
I would say I'll start with Colombia. So like Colombia, yeah, they're approachable, just as in South Africa, and you know the U.S. is just, you know, women aren't really approachable like that. So approachability is cool, but the problems you'll run into with Colombia is the language barrier, or limited language barrier. So even if you speak Spanish, you're never going to speak Spanish like it's your mother tongue. So that's always going to be. And then being black, yeah, they may find something attractive about us, but a lot of times we're not their first option in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come to South Africa and you can speak your natural language, there is some language barrier, you know what I mean, and I could touch on that, but just approaching people, you can approach them. You can use your natural language. You can use whatever natural mouthpiece, a game you have, and
Okay.
everything
Okay.
can flow. You know,
Right.
and you know, women are very more receptive out here, definitely.
Okay. So, you know, a lot of brothers, because it's your second time coming, and I know it's probably cheaper to go to Colombia
Right.
than it is coming to South Africa. And you know, I saw you in a group. You was really pumped about coming to South Africa. And a lot of brothers didn't, you know, understand what do the women. I mean, in comparisons to, let's say, because I know Durban. I heard the women in Durban are a little bit more shapely. I know Johannesburg got everybody, but I heard like in that Zulu Natal section of South Africa, they really were working with something out there. What are the women? What do they look like out in Durban? Or could you compare cities for the brothers out there that's looking to come maybe visit South Africa? What are you seeing on the ground?
I would say on the ground. So what you would get in, I'm going to start with Johannesburg. Like you said, you'll get a mix. You know, you get a mix. Cape Town, you will get more a mix more colors. You know what they call them, colors, which we would just say light skin, red bone, or whatever you want to, or however you want to call it. You'll get that. The thing I don't really like about Cape Town culture is that it's a high spending culture. So the women there typically are accustomed to seeing guys, typically Nigerians that visit there, like they spend a lot of money. So it's customary for when you go out buying a bottle, buying a hookah,
right?
And you know, I was with someone last time. You know, they wanted me to buy them an outfit to go out.
Oh,
like, that's what men's supposed to do.
Hey, listen, people don't think that it'd be entitlement in Africa, man. I'm glad you mentioned that because the Nigerian brothers, they don't be just doing that in Cape Town. They be doing that in South. They be doing it in Johannesburg too. Like even at Santon, I was staying at the Santon Sky. Shout out to the Santon Sky. I love that, and the Godfather restaurant. And you see the Nigerian dudes come through, man, and they'll be spending rand like crazy, big 200 rand notes, and the girls be there waiting on them, man. So they spend a lot of money. So, you know, even some of the South African guys be complaining like, yo, man, these dudes spend too much money. Like we can't keep up with these guys. Yeah. And you do see it. But let's talk about Durban, man. Like Durban, what's the feel in Durban, brother?
So Durban, man, the women are very voluptuous. Very voluptuous, man.
Okay.
That was one reason why I wanted to visit that region, because we all heard in history about the and correct me if I'm wrong, Hottentot, the woman that they
Hottentot Venus.
Yeah. So I was like, and that's the region where she was from. So, you know, I'm a guy that likes, you know, big butt. So I was like, let me go to the big butt region.
right.
You know, so yeah, I was curious about that. I really wanted to see for myself. Because from people I know, they say Ghana and South Africa have the thickest, you know, as far as the thickest women on the continent. So I wanted to see for myself.
Uganda, man. You got to throw Uganda in that thing. Yeah, Uganda. Okay. I'm sorry. I'd have been to both. I ain't never seen it like Uganda before, but go ahead.
Oh, man. Okay.
I've been to Ghana, but I ain't never seen it like Uganda. Uganda is crazy. It's ridiculous.
Man, I got to put that on my list to check out.
But go ahead, brother. What are you saying?
But yeah, man, they're very shapely, and pretty too. And like people, you know, hate people. I got into a lot of people when I compare countries, and you know, you show them pictures of women of South Africa, and they post pictures from these Latin countries. But I have to tell them, like, bro, most of the pictures these dudes post from Latin America are usually working girls. Like, it's not fair to compare a working girl to a regular girl in Africa. Like, you're not comparing apples to apples. You know what I mean? So of course you're going to have more of these, you know, supermodel type women, because those are the women that you're going for, and that, you know, I mean, they're not regular girls. I just should say that. Like, we need to focus on
Right.
what the average looking woman, is, what the typical man would date or marry, you know. And so just being here, you know what I mean, like you could concentrate on the beauty of a black woman instead of being convoluted looking at
Right.
these other groups of women. So in person, I can see the beauty here, opposed to just looking at pictures from the internet.
All right, let me just say this, because you know, there are brothers that go to these places where, you know, they got the little situation going on, the kind of, some people do the sex tourism. But when you go to Africa, you're not there for that. You're in Africa because you like it, and you have to holler. You have to, like,
Right.
if you want to date somebody, and sometimes it's a good part of time they tell you no. You have to go out there and tell them, hello, my name is this. They don't know you, don't know them. And it's all about your presentation and, you know, if the woman want to date you or not. You know, so I'm glad you brought that up, because we're talking to, you know, women that you might want to date or marry or something like that. Same thing in Ghana. When you go approach a lady in Africa, it's like being in America. You have to,
Right.
hey, how you doing? Let's go out. You're doing the hard way. But let me ask you this, as far as your interactions in dating, because a lot of black men, they see African women in the United States, but, you know, dealing with African women in South Africa, what have you found out as far as, you know, your interactions with them and dating them? Has it been better than your expectations in Colombia, or what would you say, you know, since you've been dealing there?
I would say better than in Colombia as far as interactions. Like a lot of them I met are very, you know, shy in a good way, well mannered in the way they speak, very clear on when they speak to you and understand you. So they're very good as far as communication goes. And flaking, which I experience in other countries, like I haven't experienced like someone not showing up or someone, you know what I mean? So if they're gonna see you, they're gonna see you.
Right. That's the same. I always say that African women don't do that, man. African women, if they're gonna meet you somewhere for dinner, they might be late, and, you know, like we're always late. But you know, they always come there. But let's talk about some of the infrastructure, because I know that South Africa got that 3-prong plug, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But as far as, I know Medellin is a good city, and just getting around and the power and the internet speed and stuff like that. What have you seen?
As far as infrastructure goes, the cities I've been to, I feel like they have pretty good infrastructure. Like I said, Johannesburg is a little dated. That was something I had to get used to with the electrical outlets, because Brazil has different electric outlets too, that you have to be prepared for. They do have load shedding. You may have heard of that before, but I haven't experienced it. But, you know, people say it's common to have, you know, power outages, you know, at any random moment. So that's something that I would say some people would have to probably get used to if they lived in Africa. I haven't experienced yet, but I heard it's common, the load shedding. Also, and I don't know if this is in Uganda, but, you know, people drive on the other side of the street. So South Africa is one of those countries that drive on the opposite side, you know, of the street. So that's something to get used to as well.
Right, because they drive on, I believe, the left side, right?
They drive on the left side.
The left side, right side. Okay. So what would you say, like, when you want to come, because out of all of those cities, it seems like Durban is your favorite one.
Right. Durban's my favorite one.
Durban is.
I do want to visit one more.
One more. Okay. So why is Durban, outside of, you know, being more updated, but why is Durban, like, what is it about Durban that you think that more brothers or people from the, you know, African American community, men or women, why should they come visit Durban, in your opinion?
That's a good question. So like the cities that guys tend to like the most, like whether it's Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Medellin in Colombia, Puerto Plata, Sosúa in DR, Cartagena, Colombia, you know, they like beach cities and nice weather. So Durban has the best weather out of Cape Town and Johannesburg year round. It's humid. It's not as hot as Cartagena, but it's more like a mild 75 to 80-ish on average per year. So you got the weather aspect, brothers are like, you have a beach, brothers are like, and then everything is like new. Everything is new looking, so you're gonna feel good about being in a city that has nice restaurants, a nice mall, attractive women, easy to get around, and then they have a nice nightlife. Like every place I went to in Durban, this is during COVID, you know what I mean, was jumping. And this is another thing that I liked about Durban too. So when I went the first time, and this was, during COVID, I went to Johannesburg and Cape Town. They nightlife kind of shut down earlier in the week. It wasn't like a 7 day, a six or 7 day of the week city. When I went to Durban, it was things to do every day. Okay. I didn't have a dull moment in Durban, and I was surprised because people talk about the partying in Cape Town, but during these COVID times, they slow it down a lot. But Durban seemed like it just kind of kept it going. So I was like, you know what, I like this.
Let me ask you this, because I know you've been looking in Southern Africa, which I've only been to South Africa, but I haven't been to Namibia. I know one of the opportunities that I feel, I've never been to Medellin. I know you have, but I know that Africa has some advantages in entrepreneurship that I really feel that you might not be able to do in Colombia, because of certain language barriers. What are your thoughts about the potential to get into business or to partner with people on the African continent, irrespective or in comparisons to what you think can happen for business in DR or in Colombia?
It definitely depends on the business type, but a person like myself that's looking into the restaurant business, every Black person, male or female, that visited Africa, they always say, if they had our food, they would love it, and it will boom. So if restaurant Black American food would definitely do well here for a business. People will support it. Africans will support it. People visiting will support it. Because some people come to Africa don't really, they may not travel to North America like that, especially some Europeans. So restaurant business you would do very well in, and I think that foreign investment is welcome in Africa, and I think it shouldn't be too difficult to pursue that. I haven't did my research on opening a restaurant yet, but just from just surveying things and surveying people, I know you would do good in a restaurant arena.
And you know what? Also, what do you think about that Amapiano? That kind of like the South African house. Have you heard that yet?
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like it.
I love that, bro.
All that.
Yeah, I love that, man. And another thing too, about the continent is, even as a YouTube creator, which I was, in the manosphere, and then I kind of specialize in some of the. But one thing I like about Africa is like the demand and information of it is so strong. Let's say if you had a business in Medellin, it's kind of small, but if you're in Africa, Africa's so huge, and the people that are interested in it is so huge, and this little information is so small. There's so many more opportunities in Africa. Like, I'm always overwhelmed when I'm there. Like, once you get in the groove, I can't hit all the demands that we have to do every day, because people are just the interest, the tourism aspect of it, or the farming aspect of it. It's like you typically, there's so much demand for what you can do, versus I would think, like, if I lived in Medellin, you could probably do good, but then it's very limited. Whereas the scope of like being able to move around from Durban to Malawi to Botswana, you know what I mean? What you think about that?
Right. As far as moving around, I mean, I've opened and closed a business in Colombia, and I had a business visa which I recently tried to renew and it got denied, um, for whatever reason. So what that made me realize was that I can invest money and lose money because someone decides to pull the plug on my business visa. Not saying that it would happen, but that's always a possibility. So what I've seen, from YouTube channels, women, men that have certain businesses in Africa, usually they have an African spouse, you know. So I don't know too many entrepreneurs that's not married, in Africa that are, doing businesses. So when you do pursue a business, you have to be doing it under a visa. You can't be on a tourist visa starting a business, you know, which, some people probably did it in Dominican Republic or, something like that before, but you have to do it the right way. You have to get a business visa if you want to start a business, or you could get a business that kind of allows you to do research to start a business, so you can stay in the country for a period of time. So that you got to think. That's the first thing you got to think about is the visa situation when starting a business, and then you have to, I mean, you got to have them connections, because if you get something off the ground and you got this visa, when it's time to renew that visa, they're going to look at how much progress you made. Is it look like it's projecting up if they want to issue a longer visa? So it's a little tricky. Most companies that invest in Africa, these are maybe $100,000 million companies that's putting in. So 100,000, you could probably get permanent residency. So you done. You pay that money, you done. But people like the average Black person that may have a little bit of money saved up and want to put 20,000 or something like that, like, you have to think about the risk, not having a visa. I mean, if you got 100,000 and you could put in a bank and get a permanent residency, that's cool. But if you got 10, 20, 30, 40,000, I mean, it's risks associated with that if you're not married to a local.
Right. Okay. So basically make sure that you get all your stuff taken care of. Okay, got it. So brother, I know that you we're in the same time zone, but go ahead. It's our second interview, first on this channel, but go ahead about No Excuse ENT and what you're gonna be doing on your channel.
So my channel, I mean, is going to be places I visit. I want to make sure I give intel, more in-depth intel. Like this week, I'm covering the cities that I visited. This time around, like Johannesburg. Currently, I'm in Port Elizabeth and then Durban again. So you can expect to get content, because guys don't really get a lot of content of nightlife and things like that they want to know about. And then, in the future, I'm just gonna cover. I don't really I'm not into traveling the world and going to different places. I'm into traveling the places to give people realistic places where they can see themselves relocating to, or places where they can realistically find, a wife or stable situation. So my goal of traveling is, and my channel is to give you places that you would enjoy, where you can, live, and where you could possibly find, a significant other.
Really thank you, brother Rob, for coming in and exploring the continent, building with us today. Guys, this channel, comment pinned to the top, and keep it real, Kenganda forever. We out.